I never thought a simple science project could destroy me. And yet, there I was, staring at Alex across the crowded high school lab, every molecule of my pride shattering. He smirked as if he had known exactly what torment he was about to inflict. It's ridiculous, really. How could someone so infuriatingly perfect make my heart betray me so thoroughly? Alex had been my rival for years. Debate team, chemistry competitions, even gym class, every moment felt like a contest, and I had never let him win. Until now. I slammed my notebook shut, sending papers fluttering like fragile confessions into the air. He barely flinched, eyes sparkling with that infuriating mix of triumph and something softer I refused to name. "You okay, Ethan?" he asked, his voice casual, almost teasing. My name rolled off his tongue in a way that made my stomach twist. He leaned over my table, just close enough that I could smell the faint hint of his cologne. Something woody, warm, impossibly addictive. "I'm fine," I muttered, not meeting his gaze. My hands were shaking, and I had no idea if it was anger, humiliation, or something dangerously close to something else. The lab was quiet except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Around us, students whispered and giggled, but in that moment, it felt like we were in our own world. A world where rivalry had always been the law, and yet, something was changing. It started months ago in the middle of winter. Alex had always been meticulous, annoyingly so, and I noticed him lingering near my locker more than once. I told myself it was just curiosity, or perhaps another ploy to one-up me. But the way he observed me, the quiet intensity in his eyes, it was different. It was invasive and intimate all at once. One afternoon, as I rushed out of school, a snowstorm had begun to paint the town in shades of white and gray. I barely noticed the cold until I felt it slip between my fingers, numbing my hands. When I returned to the empty hallway, I found my hoodie missing. Heart racing, I tracked it down to Alex's locker. He didn't look surprised to see me. Instead, he held it up carefully, almost reverently, and smiled. "I think you left this behind," he said, voice low. There was a softness in the way he said it that unsettled me far more than any of his usual teasing. That was the first time I realized he cared in ways I hadn't considered. Not just about victory, but about me. And for reasons I didn't understand yet, it thrilled and terrified me all at once. Days turned into weeks, and small incidents piled up. My scarf appeared mysteriously folded on my desk. My jacket smelled faintly of my own cologne when I picked it up from the lost and found. Each gesture was subtle, almost imperceptible to anyone else, but to me it was a confession. Alex was paying attention in ways I had never allowed anyone to. And then came the moment that shattered everything I thought I knew about us. The spring dance was approaching, and the whole school was buzzing. I was forced into helping Alex with the decorations of punishment. Really, imposed by the teachers who knew our competitive streak would make us cooperate only under duress. "You'll regret it if you underestimate me," I muttered as we strung fairy lights across the gym. "I wouldn't dream of it," he said, his eyes holding mine for a fraction too long. I swallowed. My words stuck somewhere between pride and disbelief. We worked in silence for a while, the music faintly drifting from the speakers, soft and unthreatening. Then, without warning, his hand brushed mine. Not an accidental touch, deliberate, gentle. Sparks of warmth surged through me, and I jerked my hand back, annoyed at my own reaction. "You're twitchy?" Alex said, raising an eyebrow, a playful smirk tugging at his lips. "Yeah, well, you're irritating," I shot back, though my voice lacked conviction. He laughed softly, and the sound wrapped around me like a strange, dizzying tide. I wanted to hate him, but the truth was stubborn and cruel. I didn't. The day of the dance arrived, and I found myself standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie for the 10th time. I hated dressing up, hated the way my reflection betrayed every nervous flutter in my chest. And yet, part of me thrilled at the thought of seeing Alex, standing across the gym, his jacket over one arm, his smile just a fraction crooked, that same smirk that could drive me mad. When I finally arrived, the gym was bathed in golden light, fairy lights reflecting in the shiny floor. And there he was, Alex, waiting, as if he had rehearsed every detail of this moment in his mind. He didn't approach immediately. Instead, he let me see him, scanning me as though memorizing every line and shadow of my face. And then he stepped closer. "Ethan," he said softly, and suddenly, the world shrank to the space between us. I couldn't answer. Words failed me because I realized that, for the first time, our rivalry had evolved. It was no longer about outdoing each other, about proving superiority. It was about proximity, about shared glances, about the subtle intimacy that had built up in every stolen moment, every lingering touch, every scent carefully preserved. I began but stopped. My chest was tight, and I hated how vulnerable I felt. "You don't have to say anything," he whispered, and before I could protest, he leaned in, close enough that our foreheads touched. I could feel his breath, warm and steady, the scent of my own hoodie mingling with his cologne. My mind went blank. Everything else disappeared. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. And in that instant, I understood that all the battles, all the pride, all the teasing, had been leading to this impossible, delicate connection. I pulled back slightly, searching his eyes for a hint of mockery, of game-playing. But there was none. Only something raw, honest, unguarded. For the first time, Alex wasn't my rival. He was mine. And maybe, just maybe, I was his. The weeks after the dance were complicated. Everyone assumed Alex and I were still rivals, still locked in some endless contest. They didn't see the late-night texts, the small notes left in each other's lockers, the stolen moments in empty classrooms. It was our secret, fragile and intoxicating. Yet secrecy weighed heavily. We both knew that being openly together could stir gossip, judgment, and outright hostility. Small-town America had a way of making even the simplest acts of affection a scandal. But the thought of hiding him, of pretending, was unbearable. One Friday afternoon, as we walked together along the quiet streets of our neighborhood, the sun dipping low behind the houses, I finally confronted the fear that had been gnawing at me. "I can't keep pretending," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I hate it." Alex's hand found mine naturally, fingers intertwining like they belonged there all along. "Then we don't have to," he said simply, his eyes steady, unwavering. I laughed nervously. "It's not that simple. People, they'll talk. They'll love us anyway," he interrupted, voice playful but firm. "Or they won't. And we'll survive." I wanted to argue, to protest, but the truth was that every time he smiled at me, every time he brushed a strand of hair from my face, I felt the courage to believe in something more than whispered secrets. School brought its challenges. The whispers were inevitable, the occasional snickers and pointed looks inevitable. But we faced them together, gradually, learning how to navigate the world side by side. We discovered allies in the most unexpected places, friends who supported us quietly, teachers who looked the other way with a knowing smile, and even classmates who, at first skeptical, eventually came around. One afternoon, as we sat on the bleachers watching the sun reflect off the track field, Alex leaned against my shoulder. It was so natural, so ordinary, yet it carried an extraordinary weight. I realized then that all the rivalry, all the teasing, all the little games had been building to this simple, perfect normalcy. "I've been keeping something from you," he murmured, his voice low and teasing. I turned my head, eyebrows raised. "Oh, really? And what might that be?" He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small bundle of carefully folded shirts, mine. My hoodie, my favorite tee, a sweater I'd thought lost months ago. My heart skipped. I like your scent," he said almost shyly. "And I like holding a part of you close when we're apart." I froze, staring at him. "You kept my clothes?" He shrugged, a small grin tugging at his lips. "Only the ones I could sneak away without anyone noticing. You smell like home." I wanted to yell, to scold, to demand he stop embarrassing me. But instead, I laughed, the sound raw and relieved. "You're insane," I whispered. "Maybe," he said softly, leaning closer. "But you love me anyway." I didn't argue, couldn't. And in that moment, I realized that love wasn't about logic or reputation or even fairness. It was about connection, about intimacy, about the courage to be seen wholly and vulnerably. By summer, we stopped hiding entirely. A walk in the park became an adventure. A movie night at someone's house became a declaration of belonging. The world didn't collapse. People talked, sure, but life moved on. And in the small victories, we found freedom. One evening, under the golden haze of a late summer sunset, Alex took my hand and led me to a quiet overlook on the outskirts of town. The horizon stretched endlessly, the wind carrying the scent of grass and warmth. He turned to me, his gaze steady and unwavering. "I want everyone to know," he said simply, "that I'm yours. No more hiding. No more pretending." Tears pricked my eyes. "Are you sure?" "More than anything," he said, voice gentle but firm. And with that, he kissed me. Not like the awkward, tentative brushes of our past. Not like the stolen moments in hallways. But fully, openly, with the certainty of someone who had waited a long time to be brave. The kiss broke something in me, fear, hesitation, all the years of rivalry, and built something stronger in its place. Trust, desire, love. It was a declaration, a promise, a beginning. From that day forward, we were unstoppable. Not because the world approved, not because people stopped whispering, but because we had chosen each other. Fully, recklessly, completely. Graduation brought its own set of challenges and triumphs. Our families, initially hesitant, gradually came to accept us. Friends became champions, lending support and encouragement. And the town? Well, it adjusted. Slowly, awkwardly, but undeniably, it moved on. College plans, summer jobs, the mundane rhythm of life didn't diminish our bond. If anything, it strengthened it. Every morning, I woke up to the certainty that Alex was beside me, and every night, I went to sleep with his hand in mine. One night, months later, as we lay under the stars, I whispered, "I used to hate you." Alex chuckled softly, nudging me with his shoulder. "I know, but now, I can't imagine life without you." He turned to me, eyes shining in the starlight. "Good, because I'm never letting you go." We fell asleep that night in each other's arms, the quiet streets of our small American town stretching endlessly around us. Outside, the world continued its chatter, its judgments, its whispers. But inside, there was only warmth, trust, and the steady rhythm of two hearts learning to beat together. The rivalry that had defined us for so long transformed into something infinitely better. We laughed, we argued, we teased, but above all, we loved. And in the quiet courage of our love, we discovered that intimacy, trust, and devotion could overcome every obstacle. Alex squeezed my hand gently, and I pressed my forehead against his. "You're mine," he said softly. "And you're mine," I replied. The scent of my hoodie lingered, mingling with his cologne. A small, seemingly insignificant detail. But it carried the weight of all we had endured, all we had fought for, and all we had discovered. And in that simple, profound moment, I understood that love was not a battle to be won, nor a prize to be claimed. It was a journey, messy, beautiful, and breathtakingly human. Together we stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to face whatever the world might throw at us, knowing that, at the very least, we had each other. The sunset dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of amber and violet. And as we watched in silence, hearts entwined, I finally felt the peace I had been searching for all along. Because some rivalries are meant to end not in defeat, but in love. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.